Welcome to the ink and page hand-drawn mandala tutorial. I'm Kim Squirrel. Here's the zentangle that I had on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm going to be showing you how to do this, starting with the mandala in the middle. So you're going to need some paper, just ordinary copy paper will do, and a pencil, a sharpened pencil. This is an HB pencil, has a rubber on the end, you might want a rubber, and you can use a harder pencil which will give you a finer line, but an HB is fine. So when you've drawn around your hand and you're creating your mandala in the centre of the palm, you start with a dot. So central to your space, your paper, you put a dot. Then you need to make a line going through the dot from top to bottom and through the dot from left to right at right angles. Extend these lines out to the extent of the mandala you want to draw. Now for this you might just want to change the paper around. I'm not doing so because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So top to bottom, left to right, north to south, east to west. And then put the diagonals in. Start with the middle and you'll be able to see roughly. Take your time, pay attention to the line. Just divide that. So that's, if it starts off here, equal, it's going to be fine. Follow it out. You can always adjust this as you go along. It's all about hand and eye, making judgments like that. And this is just like dividing up a cake to make sure everybody gets an equal piece. So you do that by eye, and this is the same thing. You can use a ruler for all this, but that's a whole other thing. And this is all about hand drawing, developing that hand to eye beautiful relationship that we have. So those are the lines we need for the moment. Now about a centimetre I'm going to do a little line, but it depends on the size you've got, but the size you want to draw it, but just a little line on each of these. This is a marker, and you might want to just look down from the top to get that right. It's difficult for me here, but just about that. Now you're going to draw a lazy S. So the shape's going to be like this, like a very lazy S. All these shapes and these, it might be nice to limber up by drawing lines. You're also going to be doing straight lines and curves. So it might be nice to limber up on a bit of paper on the edge of your paper to start with if you want to. So this lazy S is going to go from that dot, that marker, it's going to curve out like that and then hit that marker there. Then you're going to do it the other way. Now this is also a bit like a figure of 8. So you can do that, hitting these markers all the way around. Again, if it helps to, and you can see there I've missed a little bit there. So whether you think of it as a figure of 8 or lazy S's, either way, whatever you need to understand this shape. There we are. Now we're going to draw a line from tip to tip of these petals. I can already see where things aren't quite lined up, and that's what you can correct. So I can see that this line haven't quite hit that mark well enough, so really that petal is more like that, and it comes in a little bit here. These are all things you can correct as you go along, and certainly when you ink it up at the end. Now I'm just going to explain something here about looking and seeing and drawing, and that is that these shapes we're making here are positive. It's the positive shape we're drawing. And in between each of these petals, there's a negative shape. And this shape is a bit like a triangle. And the way to check whether you've got something even and whether you've got something right when you're observing is to look at the negative shapes around the positive shape you're wanting to draw. And these are all pretty much the same. That one's a little different. And it's probably that this line here isn't quite right. So we're just going to sharpen that up a bit. There we are. The next thing we're going to do, straight lines. But first of all, we're going to create another set of diagonals. So now we've tightened those up a little bit, and that shape's helped us to do that. We're going to do a line through that way. So first of all, we can make it like that, see if we're happy with it. Do it on each one. So we're going from that straight line we just did, cutting through, keeping an eye on the other guidelines. Does that look seem right? Out to there. It's going to hit about the middle of that line that we've just done between the petals, and if that looks right, then it probably is. So we're going to extend this line out. You can already see that that's not too bad. And then extend this line out. Now take your time. It's quite a meditative thing to do. And you can see the way I'm creating these lines is I'm not moving the pencil around, I'm moving my whole hand. So it's not just the pencil doing that, which is a little bit hard to control, but it's my whole hand making that movement out. And the pencil, I'm sort of like a clamp. My fingers are like a clamp for the pencil. And then here, again, if I was not doing this to camera, I'd probably turn it around to get it a bit better, because it's quite difficult to do it that way. But I think you'll be able to see if that's right, but that's probably okay. So this line now, not too bad. As you do the pattern, things will become apparent if you've made little mistakes, and you can alter them. Okay, so now we're going to do another little mark in these ones. They're just going to be the new ones we've made, not quite a centimetre. We're going to make an equilateral triangle. So you might like to do one, see if you're happy with that, and then look at that line and think, okay, that line is probably the same there. So basically a line that's the same as that line, distance that's the same as that pretty much. So draw that on each of those, and then just do your triangles. Now, as I said, you might want to sharpen up your pencil, because the point goes quite quickly on these HBs rather. There we are. Now, a little triangle just inside that one. And this is where you can really see if your triangle is even on both sides. When this little one goes in, which is easier to control and draw, you can just see. Looking at this shape, now look at that, and the positive shape you're making and its relationship. The next shape is going to be across here, and it's going to be a curve. To help make the curve, we can first of all draw a straight line. If you're confident about doing the curve straight away, then that's fine. And I'm just going to do a straight line very faintly to help make this curve. And then it's going to come out to about there. Again, I'm using my whole hand, I'm clamping my pencil in my fingers. I'm using my whole hand to make that curve. The next petal we're going to make is on top of this curve. And we're going to do about 1 centimetre again away. Above this curve we've just made about 1 centimetre, a little marker. And now we're going to make another lazy curve, a little bit like an S. If we start on this one, this is going to be a little bit more like an S, but with a small curve there, big curve there. I'm just going to mirror it on that side. And we're going to do, see that the marker there isn't quite right, but I've got used to the curve now, so I'm aware that I have to fall a bit short of that marker there. So again, this is a curve you can practice. You can just practice doing curves over and over again, which will help if you don't feel confident about doing it straight away. But you can always rub things out. In the centre of this little one, we're going to do a little oval, the centre of each one. And each oval is going to have a little V underneath it. The next petal, this one goes in between these two. And it's going to be a bigger triangle. If we think of these are all sort of as a diamond shape rather. So it's a sort of taller one. So we want to mark about there. And that's probably 2 centimetres, I'd say. So about 2 centimetres. About there. We're going to create a new petal. There we are. And again, a curve up to that mark and down to that mark. It's like a blade shape, like a spearhead or a shield shape. Here it looks just like a little bit missing that central. It's becoming evident now, that's a little bit out. And I think I've possibly made the marks a bit too just here, not bad. Again, you can use you'll get a way of drawing a curve, especially if you practice. You'll find how you want to hold the pencil, how you want to do the curves. There, in the centre of this shape, we're just going to do a circle. It's going to sit very nicely between those 3 lines. Very cosy. Little circle there. Just like doing an O. And just put it down in there. Then above it, a little arc. Equally, evenly above it. Like that. There we are. The next and the final actual petal is going to be another one of those lazy S shapes. It's also a bit like a bracket. When we were at school we did these curly brackets. So this again is like a flattened diamond shape if you look at it. So a little mark just there. So in your eye, trace this flattened diamond shape that we want to achieve here. About there. And we're going to go the bracket. This really does look like a bracket because it's quite shallow. I want to come up to a tip and down. Up and down. Up to the tip. Down. Really nice rhythm. In the centre of this one, we're going to follow up the line and do 2 little loops. Follow up that central line, 2 loops. Now this one looks to me it's not coming out enough, so I'm just gonna, and that one too, just gonna mend them, make them a little bit better shaped. Okay, now the final touches. In between these two, in the centre of these two, a little rising sun shape just across. You've got the guide in the middle to see where it should go, and basically it's going either side of that little line there. There we are. And now another hoop over it. We've had some practice with that middle one, and here's another one. Little hoop around it. Quite close, just even. Just have to do them all the same if you can. And one final little line around. And keep an eye on the central, how central it is between these two, because it should be pretty much central between these 2 tips. So that one needs to come across more, because I haven't done it wide enough. There we are. At the end of each of these tips here, we're going to measure out about, I want it sitting not quite a centimetre, about half a centimetre, but we're going to put a little circle. So I'll circle each of those. And there we are. That's our pencil drawing. And now we're going to ink it. And that will be in the next episode.